Om Namah Pranavर्थाय Shuddha-Jnana-Ekamurtaye Nirmalaya-Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Nitaye Sarva-Vidyanam Vishaje Pavaroginam Gurave Sarva-Lokanam Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Udayamudhirayet Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Om. Namaskaram. So in the first session, that is the last class, we started with the blessings of the God to understand the glory of Shrimad Bhagavata. And to set the context, we looked at enumerated the Puranas. There are many Puranas, like Sthala Purana, Kula Purana, Mahapuranas. And we got the names of those Puranas and what they are. And among them, as a jewel, is the Shrimad Bhagavata. So today what we will do, we will understand the background of the Bhagavatam, maybe some story or the context, and how it is glorified in Padma Puranam. And then we can set the scene so that possibly from the next class, we can actually get to the text proper into the Padma Purana. But it is important to start with the Mangala Shloka. So we will do few from what traditionally followed. And then we take it from the text proper. Krishnam Narayanam Vande, Krishnam Vande Vrijapriyam, Krishnam Dvaipayanam Vande, Krishnam Vandam Padesudam. This is not a verse within the Shrimad Bhagavatam or Padma Puranam, but it is traditionally invoked. Krishnam Narayanam Vande. Vande means you worship. You worship the Krishnam. Offer my worship to Krishna, who is none but Narayana, the Paramatma. So this is the Parabrahma Upasana as the first line. The second line, the same Krishna is Vrajapriyam. He comes to the Vrajalokas, Rasa Leelas. Who comes as a Saguna Brahma? Who comes as an avatar into this world? The Krishna avatar. So Krishnam Vande Vrajapriyam. So we offer the prayers to Krishna. Krishnam Dvaipayanam Vande. That means we are praying to the Vyasa, who is also called Krishna. As we saw in the first class, Veda Vyasa is got very different names. I don't even know what his real name is, because all the names are given for certain reasons, certain qualities, certain fame. Dvaipayanam, because he was born in an island of Yamuna river. Veda Vyasa, because he's assembled the Vyasas. Satyavati Suja is a son of Satyavati. Like that. Krishnam, because he was also dark in the complexion. It was called Krishna. Of course, there's all the Lakshyartha there. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya. So therefore, Vyasa is also Krishna. And we need to make our offer obedience to Vedavyasa because he is the one who is giving us all the Vedas, Bhagavatas, Brahma Sutra, Bhashyas, and this Shrimad Bhagavatam. And finally, Krishna Vande forgive me for this. So here he is invoking prayer to Arjuna. Prada is Kunti. So Kunti's son Arjuna is also worshipped because he's also got a name called Krishna. There he's a very handsome man. He's a Panduvamsa, very complex. But he's called Krishna because he's got Akarshana of everybody. He's very attractive, charismatic. Why are we praying to Arjuna? Because he's an Narottaman. So we pray to the Paramatma, we pray to the Ishvara who comes as Saguna Brahma, the Krishna. We pray to the Guru, the Vyasa, the Krishna. Then we pray to the Shishtacharya, Arjuna. He is even called in a Naranarayana pair, he is considered as to be an avatar of Krishna himself. So Krishna Vande Pradasutam. So I just wanted to say the meaning so that in the subsequent classes we just can pass through it. So Bhagavatam, Shrimad Bhagavatam, is not a book. It is not a grantha of text that we read. Because when Bhagavan is about to leave the world, when Uddhava asked him, so what am I going to do? What are we going to do without you? And he says, the Leela of his in which he lives forever. So Bhagavatam studies, Parayanam and Pravachanam, or listening to that, is actually witnessing, enjoying Bhagavan himself. Bhagavataga itam Bhagavatam. Why it is important to us? We're going to go through that in great detail as Padma Purana says. But it came at a time when the time changes in its approach. Time is always changing. Who says time doesn't change? Time always changes. But when the change causes so much of impact in our life, we started refreshing our plans and goals. And even today, if there is something happens, something impacts, we take a step back. Am I doing the right thing? Do I reorient my life in a different way? So time is always a periodic teacher to refocus our life. But when the impact is so big, it is affecting all the Jivarasis, then the whole world is taking notice of it. The whole world is reoriented. That is called a new yuga starting, a new episode, new history comes through. So Kali is one such transformation where things get deteriorated, where our strength of character is eroded, where bhakti is at a very different shape, jnana vairagyam gets weakened. So we become very vulnerable to impacts of life. So therefore, we need a moral strength to support it. You see, it is not that human beings are bad. It's not that we are incapable of progressing, but we stumble. We stumble. Bhagavatam comes to us as a text of extremely beautiful poetry, pregnant with great Upanishadic ideas, wonderful history of timeline. But the best part in our view, is that Bhagavatam is absolutely honest about humanity. It recognizes that human beings can evolve, but they may fall. There are many, many instances. You will see how the great Ajamila, who is a great pious guy, he progressed toward the spiritual path, but then he eroded. And then he picks it up again. So when the human pursuit is to go towards progress, and then we somehow, maybe because of the prarabdha karma, the vasanas, we fall behind, then we need to go up again. So by narrating the legends of a great people, but all spinned around the Krishna Leela, Rasa Leela as the main part, Bhagavatam gives us the enormous strength of character to rebuild and move forward, to refine our life. We are not going to do Parayana of Sri Bhagavatam or Pravachana on Bhagavatam, because that is way beyond our reach right now. But we are going to learn the glory of Bhagavatam through another Purana. But the context we need to know. The Shrimad Bhagavatam is inculcating in us what is called Ahaidukhi Bhakti. Ahaidukhi Bhakti means a bhakti in which the process is just purifying oneself to be one with the God. There is no trade. There's no vanik bhakti. Just the anandam. That's what it is. But why this is revealed, who it is revealed to, we all know the story, but I'll just briefly give you, because some characters will come and we need to appreciate what it is. The Mahabharata war is finished. And the Pandavas have gone. Bhagavan Krishna has disappeared. There, Arjuna's lineage is Abhimanyu and his wife Uttara. When Bhagavan's time, Uttara is become pregnant, but due to this problem with Ashwatthama, a spell was put in. The embryo was affected in her womb. Then Bhagavan goes inside the womb of Uttara and resolve the problems. And that's how the Parikshit was born. Parikshit is one who has met the ordeals in the embryo. God delivered child is Parikshit, Arjuna's grandson. So he is the one, after Arjuna takes over the Kuru dynasty. And when he was hunting out in the forest, because the king's role is to protect the dwellers or the villages, the peasants, the rishis and the saints. So he goes and hunt. And it was a very hot summer day. And he could not really, go any further. So he wants to have some rest. He wants some water to drink. So he finds a little hut, an ashram of a sage called Shamika. Shamika's Muni is in a meditative state and in a samadhi. So Parikshit goes there and asks for water. The sage is not opening his eyes. And in a kind of a momentary madness, he got mad. And he took a dead snake that was there, put it on the shoulders of this Shamika Rishi, and he goes away. And this Rishi's son, a young boy, a balaka, called Shringi, comes back and looks at his father with the snake on his shoulders, and he becomes very livid, and therefore he curses that whoever has done this will die in 7 days by the most powerful serpent called Taksha. Taksha will come and kill the person in 7 days. Of course, the father wakes up and he's really sad that his son has did a curse like this. But nothing could be done. But Parikshit comes to know that this has happened to him. But he doesn't get angry. So what he does, he basically gives back his kingdom. Parikshit got 4 sons, Janamejayan, Bhimasena, Ugrasena, and Shrudasena, and so on and so forth. So he calls his son, Janamejayan, and hand over the kingdom to him and say, look, I'm going to live only for 7 days. And what is the redemption? I haven't really done anything to understand the truth. What do I do? You see, the Shastras tell the king to acquire prosperity, wealth, collect taxes, build prosperity to everybody else. But the same Shastra tells you, give up everything else. This transition is not difficult. In fact, it's very essential. This is where I think when we have this wonderful life of material wealth and everything, comes a time we start to learn giving it up. You know, if you see the worm that goes through from one leaf to the other, you know, it's got thousands of legs, but you want to raise to the other leaf, it will hold on to the other leaf, and then it gives up the lower leaf. It has to give up. Like when you climb the ladder, you hold the higher one, you give the lower one. So this gentle transition of giving up what we have and moving towards something bigger is what is the Varnashram talks about, Vanaprastha. When we retire from life, the Vanaprastha is the contemplation of not going to the forest, but contemplation of how to give up something and hold on to something bigger. You know, now if you're still doing the stock market in like 8 years of age, you're not giving up. But Parikshit just gives away everything and goes to the Ganges and look for some seers to give him knowledge. He's having lots of questions, particularly six important questions we will see later. And that is where Sugar Brahman comes in. Sugar Brahman is the son of Vedavyasa. Sugar Brahman, Shuka is called parrot. You know, there's a lot of legend about it. You know, he was born to, you know, Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa married Japalika Rishi's daughter, Pingala, Arvatika. And that son is Shuka. Of course, there are different versions of it. But Shuka used to repeat whatever the parents repeat. The parents are always in the Shastra Jnana. So therefore, he was like a parrot, and they say it's a parrot. So Sugar Brahman comes there, and when Parikshit asked him, what do I have to do? I got only 7 days to live. Then Sugar Brahman has compassion on him, and he reveals to him Shrimad Bhagavata in the 7 days. Of course, Parikshit dies after 7th day, but his mortal body died. He became a Jivan Mukta. Liberation from the death. This is why it is relevant. Bhagavatam is relevant because it talks about not the stories, not all this history. They're useful, but it is addressing a problem, the inevitable condition of life, which we all have to face. That is death. That's why it is universal. It has no caste, no religion, no jati, no kulas, because it is about life by itself. How true the life is, as much true is the death. But this transition from life to death, what you call life, is transient, temporal. And when you're not able to leave those things, when you climb, not able to leave those things, it creates dread, it creates fear. So if you take all the existence, all the actions that we do in the world is driven by the single fear of death. Abhinivation. We saw in Patanjali's one, Panchakleshaka, abhinivation. Why? Because we associate death to be that which destroys us. Everything is gone. I am no more. So this is a problem for the humanity. Therefore, if there is literature, language, text, shabda that unravels these things and moves us from bhayam to abhayam. Abhayam is grace. Abhayam is mukti. If you are fearless, that means you are already liberated. Dhiraha. Upanishad uses the phrase dhiraha all the time. So if you are not afraid of death, you are liberated, even when you are in this body. But how did sugar got this Bhagavatam? And by the way, nobody cursed me, at least as I know. Therefore, I'm not going to die in 7 days. So why I have this intense need to go and listen to this Bhagavatam as if it is no tomorrow? Everybody is going to die, yes. I am very busy right now, earning money, young life. This can wait. But this seven, you will die in 7 days. You should take it not in 7 days, in any of the 7 days. That means I could die on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That means I can die anytime. That's what it means. It's not the 7 days in linearly progressing in the time vector. No, it is, there are only 7 days in the world. I can die any day. That means death is imminent. In the Bhagavata story, in Mahabharata story, when the Dharma and all the brothers die and then they walk towards the Swarga, they're not dying, they're just walking towards that. And there is a stray dog that goes along with him. It's just a figurative thing. And everybody is just dropping dead one at a time, slowly in timeline. Only Dharma is the one that's not dying and then going with the dog and go to the entrance of the heavens. And Dharma, being compassionate, he wants the dog to go with him to the heavens. And the gods say, no, you can't. But then the dog reforms itself to be the Lord of Death. So it goes like this, with a lot of insight. The stray dog that always follows, whether you give anything or not, it just follows, is the death. In Amavasa Tarpana Mantra, as it comes there, O death, who is accompanying me all the time. Like Rama told to Bharata. Remember, death is always holding our hand, invisibly holding our hand. Because someday it needs to take you away from this body. So therefore, Parishit timeline of 7 days actually means any time, any day for anybody. Therefore, knowing about Abhayam is not something you can wait for a day when you're getting old. It has to be now. It is not something to be done within 7 days and finish it off, close the book. Bhagavata Saptaham is finished and Prasadam is eaten, forget it. That we do it because we are busy with anything, but every day you must listen to Bhagavatam in some form. That means at least the sarams and the quintessential import of Bhagavatam should be grasped, which nothing but the Vedanta, the Upanishad Saram. So this, just to finish off the story very briefly, Shukar get this Bhagavatam from Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa wrote this Bhagavatam in anywhere from 14,000 to 18,000 slokas. And how did he write it? How did he know it? And the legend says, after Vedavyasa finished all writing of Mahabharata, even some Puranas he wrote, he was not happy. He was not peaceful. And because he was restless, he was just wandering in the forest. And sage Narada, who was passing by, saw Vedavyasa and comes down to him and say, why are you worried about it? And he says, look, I've done all this. There's no peace. Then he says, maybe because there is something else which you have not done. In all your wonderful things, you are going to wear the Aranyam, like a big forest. And then you have divided into Veda sagas. You are given Upanishad Sarams. You are given Brahma Sutram. They are very intellectually superior to comprehend and follow. But in the, see, Narottamans are one. The word Naran itself is a very important word. Naran is not inferior human. It's a very civilized human being. Nayati Iteji. Among the Jivarashi who leads other life forms, he is Naran. Just because I'm human, it's not I'm Naran. Unless I bring in leadership qualities in me that brings other forms of life to achieve peace. So he says, you have taken this Janma, then you have to create something to protect the people in the coming Kaligala. So bhakti has to come. This has to be bhakti which is ahaituki bhakti, refined bhakti, bhakti that asks for ambitious jnana vairagya siddhyattam. You have not done that. So you do that. And how am I going to do it? Then Narada says, Narada also gone through disillusion. See, we have to take examples. There's examples when such a seers can get agony in life. Who am I to complain? But they take the agony because to illustrate what life is all about. So Narada says, I have the same issue. Then my father, Brahma, taught me the Bhagavad, Shrimad Bhagavatam in essence, in 10 slokas. So he imparts that 10 to Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa articulately, he is a great composer. He articulates into this 14 to 18,000 slokas. And that's how he gives it to Sudha. So that's how it goes in. And you're going to have a lot of characters, you know. But this all happened after Mahabharata. See, Parikshit came after, you know, Bharata Yuddha has finished. So Vyasa wrote this Bhagavatam many years ago. Of course, scholars will come and put a date to that, 12th century, because Vyasa came again in the south of India, in Tamil Nadu, and then he wrote this Shrimad Bhagavatam in a way, because so scholars, you know, discussions going on this. But the way it is narrated, so when you see Padma Puranam, you'll see Shiva Parvatis are discussing, and then they are bringing all the story. In Mahabharatam, if you look at it, the disciple of Vedavyasa, Vaishampayana, see what happened was, when Parikshit died, Janamejayan took over the kingdom. And then he asked the question, how did my father die? Your father died because the snake bite? Snake? Oh, I can't accept this. So I'm going to eradicate the snakes from this country. So Janamejayan, he do what's called a Sarpasaraga. It's a particular yagyam. And when you do the yagyam, all the snakes will be attracted towards this fire. And they come into the fire and they die. And he started doing that yagyam in a very big way. And all the snakes are coming, and he was aiming to get the Takshaka to come through it. And this was not a right thing to do. So that is a time a Rishi comes in and he says, you have to call Vaishampayana to come. Vaishampayana is Vyasa's disciple. So he will teach you why you should not do it. So he comes in there and tells him to stop this one. And then he closes the Homakund. I believe people say still there in Manipuri, in Nagaland, is still there. It's called a Parikrit Kund, in which he did the yajna. So that's the time Vaishampayana narrates to Janamejayan the Mahabharata. See, the Mahabharata story itself is what Vaishampayana narrates to Janamejayan. You're going to see a little bit more narrators coming through. We're going to have, see, when Shukar was teaching Shrimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit, in the company of sages, there was Suta Pauranika. Suta was there listening to what Shukar was teaching to Parikshit. The Shukar Brahman's teaching, Suta Pauranika grasped everything, like Vaishampayana was called Mahabharatacharyas, because he was the one elaborate Mahabharatam. Suta Pauranika, they call Pauranikas because they are the one narrating the Puranas. So the Suta Pauranika listened to Shukar Brahman's teaching to Parikshit, and they are going to say that to Shaunaka Rishis. That's why we are going to capture the timeline in Padma Purana. So I'm just giving you can forget all this. It doesn't matter if you don't need to remember this, but just to give you the context. So it is going to be a flashback to the flashback to the flashback. But the Shrimad Bhagavatam itself has got 12 cantos. The first one is called Skandam. The Prathama Skandam is where the Suta Shaunaka's conversation, the Samvada happens. The story that I just now briefly said is going to be elaborated in a deeper way. In the second part, you have the story about Bhagavan's Kripa, Kalyana Gunas. The third chapter, you have this, how the Brahma comes out of the Mahavishnu's navel. Varaha Avatara is explained. Hiranyakasipu story is come through. Kapilavatar of Bhagavan. Then in the Chaturthakanda, the fourth skandam, you have the Yajna, Dakshin's Yajnams getting through. There's a bad people story, like Veeranand story. They are there. Then in the fifth comes the Dhruva Charita, Dhruva story. The lineage of the Agnidharan, Jadabharata story, all that is coming through. Ajamilan story comes in the sixth chapter. You see, each skandam comes with different stories, woven with the Dashavadaras, sometimes about Shiva stories, some legend stories. It's all mixed together. Seventh skandam is supposed to be very, very popular because this is the Prahalada Charitram is there. One Prahalada story is there, seventh. And the eighth also, Ashtama skandam contains Gajendra Moksham. Also with the Surya dynasties, you know, we saw this Purana Lakshanam, right? Dynasties come, lineage comes. Rama story is there, Surya Vamsa. Then Chandra dynasty comes in, Parasurama story is there. Then ninth is much more. In ninth it comes in all this Rama, Krishna, Balarama stories. The 10th is the most important. 10th is the Krishna Leela, Krishna's birth and the Leela. Dasamaskandam. Normally, most elaborate pravachanam, paranam is done around the Dasamaskandam. Then the 11th skandam is where the Uddhava Gita is there. 11th is, normally people don't read it very fully, but this is where I think Paramatma has disappears from this world, from the immortal body. Uddhava Gita comes in. Uddhava Gita is is very profound. It's not as popular like Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has got like something like 33 chapters with 1,537 shlokas. It has got a very different context, but it reinforces Bhagavad Gita in a very different way, and it makes certain assumptions about your understanding of it. Compared to Arjuna, Uddhava is a very evolved soul in the way. So that is there. And then the 12th skandam, the final one, is called Yuga Swarupam. What happened to the Yugam? How this evolution happens. Markandeya's renunciation comes in. So it concludes, and then it goes back again to talk about this Srishti. So it's kind of a cycle. Every part is so beautiful. I mean, most importantly, there are 5 chapters in the Dasmaskanda, 29 to 33, 173 verses. Quintessential of scholars believe that way, because that is Rasa Leela. Rasa Leela is very difficult to understand. I foolishly tried to translate even the one verse. I translated 50 times, and I am not happy. Either all-knowing attempt that, or real foolish people attempt that, because it is so much of a sense of Vedanta is there buried into this, but interwoven with the completely romantic sceneries out there and the Leelas, and so therefore Shrimad Bhagavatam is something which we need to really learn through teachers, as many teachers as possible, because every learning, every teaching will come very differently. So what we do in the Mangala Shloka, so we will take maybe normally Bhagavatam has to be studied, Parayanam is very important. Parayanam and the Pravachanam. Pravachanam, people do Vyagyanam. There are many Vyagyanams are there. Madhvacharya is one which is called Bhagavata Tattvartha Nirnayam is what started. And subsequently you have Sridhara Swamigal's Bhavadipika, Bhagavad Rasayanam by Sri Harisuri, Vallabhacharya's commentaries, Vyakyanams, and even Prabhupada is so wonderful, Prabhupada and the recent ones. And then there are Pravachanams, I remember listening to, when a very young Pravachana Chakravarti, another Dikshit from Shegalipuram, Tuppu Lakshmi Narasimha Swami here, Nachu Swamigal today. There are so many Mahatmas are giving pravachanams. So we pray to everybody's feet. We pray to everybody, every Vyakyanam, we take it. And then we try to understand what we need to do. So what I thought I'll do is that I will just take the first and the last of the Shrimad Bhagavatam. Because, in a supremely composed poetries on kavyas and epics and thing, it's called foreloading. You load everything in the first itself. In the first itself, you load everything, and last you summarize and give the way out. So that is how Vyasacharya does everything. And these two shlokas, I call shlokas, I call mantras actually. Mantras are quintessential of Shrimad Bhagavatam, and we can recite normally people recite as a Mangala Shloka, but today we see as a Artham, and then we take it from there. So this is the first one of Shrimad Bhagavatam. Janmat yasya yadanvayat itara chardeshu abhigyaswarat thene brahmagritaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsuraya tejav vari amrudam yata vinimaya yatra sargam amrusha dhamna svena sadha nirasta guhagam satyam param dhimahi. Dhamna svena sadha nirasta guhagam satyam param dhimahi. So I think it will be very worthwhile to understand this. I think we saw it briefly when we discussed this in one of the classes in the Patanjali Yoga Shastra. Satyam Param Dhimahi. And it's starting with Janma Adi Asya Yataha. Janmati Asya Yataha. That is basically a Vedanta Sutra. So he started the Vedanta Sutra. That whole phrase, verbatim, is a Vedanta Sutra. And he concludes the first verse with the Satyam Param Dhimahi. Let's see how to understand this verse. So let's take the last line first. Damna Svena Sadha Nirasta Bhagam Satyam Param Dhimahi. So Satyam Param Dhimahi is a Gayatri. Dhimahi is a Gayatri mantra. Let us meditate. It's always taken as a Bhagavata. Meditate what? Parama Satyam. Satyam, that is Param. That which is supreme. Supreme truth. Let me meditate. And what is this? What is this Satyam? What is the first line? Janma Adi Asya Yataha. Yataha, from whom? Janma Adi. Janma means Srishti. Srishti, Adi means etc. Srishti, sustenance and dissolution. Adi Asya. Asya means this cosmos. From whom the cosmos was created, in the whom the cosmos is sustained, in whom the cosmos dissolves. So that's what that phrase means. So he is now giving you a lakshanam for that Satyam, that Parabrahma. It's called Tadastha Lakshanam. Lakshanam by giving certain examples. You know, you see the house there with the bird sitting on the roof. That house is that you need to go. So here you are giving the house with an example of an action or a symbol, or it's called Tadastha Lakshanam. So what is the Tadastha Lakshanam here for Brahman? Janma Adi Yasya. Okay. Now it gives you a little bit more complex way to convert. It says, who is giving the directly or indirectly the essence of everything? Anvayat idara arteshu abhijñaswarat. Anvayam anitara. Anvayat itaraha. Tena Brahma. So it is basically what it means is, when you take the artham, the meaning of what is said in the Tena Brahma, the Brahma means here Vedas, who give the Vedas. From the Vedas, when you take the Anvayam and Itara. See, what it is that when you, Vedas gives you a positive affirmation about things, like Satyam, Jnanam, Anandam, Brahma. That means Brahma means this is, it's called Swarupa Lakshana. Clearly gives you, this is Brahma. But the same Vedas will also tell you, Katam Asat Sat Jayate. There's a phrase there. Katam Asat Sat Jayate. How can the truth come from the non-truth? How can you create a God from manifested world? It doesn't mean that you can create it. It's basically questioning very sarcastically that you cannot do. So when you ask a negative way of affirming things called Vyatirekam. So Anvayam means a positive affirmation, Swarupa Lakshanam. Vyatirekam means saying something differently to convey the positive news. You think you could ever do this? That means Vyatirekam. That means I can never do it. So in Vedas, these kind of statements are there. See, I deliberately follow the path of explaining this with the Vedantic view. You can simply say direct and indirect creation of everything else, but what it means is that Satyam is revealed both in Anvayam and Vyatirekam. That means you cannot just go by, there are a lot of arguments, a lot of schools have taken a part of this Vedantic statement and say, therefore, this is the truth. Siddhantam comes in. This is the truth. This is not the truth. And they also take, those words are basically alankara. They are not necessary. But to get a samvayam, basically to get the conclusion, you need to do what's called a samanvayam. Samanvayam means you take the Vyatireka statements, Anvaya statement, and you rationalize it using Yukti or using other Vedantic text. So here, therefore, he says that Satyam that I have to pray, meditate upon, is that which is revealed both through positive affirmation in the Vedas and negative indication in the Veda Vakyas. Therefore, I cannot take any particular sect of contradiction because I need to be above all the contradictions. Any contradiction means there is a fallacy in understanding, which basically means duality. Differences comes in only when there is a duality. So in a Dvaitic context, you can never understand Samanvayam in this sense. But you need to have the Dvaitic context because Dvaita means the world is, and a guru teaches to a child, Shishya, it's a Dvaitam. The Dvaitam is real. Dvaitam is necessary to manage. But the Parabrahman that is there is beyond the Dvaitam, Advaitam. So, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying Madhvacharya is wrong or we should not. Everybody is right, but depending on where you are standing. In this world, when when I am in a quicksand, I need a hand of somebody who is outside, who is not in the sand. I am in the Dvaitam. If I need somebody to hold my hand, that should be Advaitam. And the Advaita Jnanam comes from the Anvayam and Vyatirekam. That's what this line says. And who is completely cognizant of everything? Abhigya. How? Who taught him? Swarat. Self-effulgence. So the first line, therefore, give you this Tadastha Lakshanam, indication of Surupa Lakshanam. The Surupa Lakshanam is Chitanandam. It is Chit means consciousness. Swarat, completely. Sat. Sat is Ananda. So that's the first line, therefore, we can keep on talking about it in many hours, but the gist of it, therefore, it is giving you a Brahma Lakshanam as Satyam. And next line, Tene Brahma, who gave the Vedas. Who gave the Vedas to Vyasa? From the Brahma. So here he talks about, you can take, who gave the Vedas is God, Parabrahman, but who gave that to the world is Brahma. Who is he? He's the Adi Kavaye. He's an Adi Kavi. He's the one who's the first poetry. He's the one who wrote this poetry. What poetry Brahma wrote? The universe. The universe is a poetry. So he's an Adi Kavi. Of course, we say Valmiki is an Adi Kavi in inscribing the Sanskrit epic. But the creation of the cosmos is a poetry. So Adi Kaviye, what happened? Yet Hridaya Mukhyanti. Hridaya Mukhyanti. Mukhyanti means perplexed. In the heart, they perplexed. Who? Surayaha, the rishis, Adi Kaviye, all the gods and the Brahmas are perplexed about what? About that Parabrahman. So now you see, first line is the Parabrahman's Lakshanam. The second line, the impossibility of cognizing that as an object of cognitions. That's why Adikavi, even Brahma, Devas, who gave Vedas are completely perplexed in the heart. How to understand it? You cannot understand, can you? It is the very understanding itself. It is not the understander. Knower is a person different from the knowledge. It is a knowledge that is Satyam. How that Satyam is revealed? That the third line says, Tejo Vari Amridam Yatha. Yatha, just as Tejo. Tejo means Teja, fire. Vari means water. Amrita means the earth. He's just showing all the Panchikarana Vishesham, the fire, the water, the earth that's manifested. Just like they came, what they do? Yatra Trishabgo Smarashara. So Trisargam. So it is three world. This world, nether world, and the heaven. So that's the cosmos. All these are created by all these Panchikaranams. Janmadi Asyam. So Srishti, Layam, sustenance, all happens there. Then he says, Dhamna Sveina Sata Nirasta Guhakam. Nirasta Guhakam. Nirasta means you negate by absence. It is not there. Therefore, there is unreality. So Guhakam is showing as if it is real. It's a deception. Mityatvam. So Nirasta Guhakam is Mityatvam. As if it is real, but it's not real. Because it's Nirasta, is absent. Like what? Like my grandfather is gone. He's not there. But he was there. Photos were there. I can see the photos. Guhakam. So it is temporal reality, Mityatvam. But this Mityatvam, Dhamna Sadha Svena. Sada means forever. Svena means Sat, self-ability, self-sufficiently. Dhamna means among this kind of transcendental items, paraphernalia, all this, among this Nityatvam, among the Nityatvam, you see this underlying eternality, Satyam. That is Satyam. That is like, I am the one, I create my world. I get up in the morning, I know there's a class today, I set up the computer, I sit down, and once it's finished, all the day's work finished, I go to bed, I dream for some time, and then I sleep. So I am also creating. When I say this bogus I have a world, Trisargam. A world is created, and the world is in which I live. Then I go to the world where I dream, where there is nothing outside. Tejo Vari Murdam is not outside, it's all internally. I create. And then it gets inside me. Then I am completely unaware of everything. I am in the sleep. But next day I get up. I don't say yesterday was a different person. It's the same person. I am the one. I was the one yesterday doing all this, sleeping, dreaming. I'm the one starting the next day. So why are you doing this again? Well, that is my nature. I get up every day, create a world, live, sleep, create a world, sleep. Janmadasya. Frightening. That means the Satyam is I. Well, that I that you think, the I that you are seeing, if you're seeing it, that is Guhakam, deception. That is an effulgence in me. Svena Sadha Jyotihi. So if that effulgence in me, the Atma in me, is a metaphor, or not a metaphor, it's a small scale example that I have to understand. The whole cosmos, therefore, is an embodiment of God. Like this Jyoti that is there in me, creating this world of my life every day, is a Param Jyoti everywhere. That is Param Dhimahi, Satyam. I wanted to get that knowledge I want. Exactly what Gayatri Mantram says. Something, Prachotayat. Let that be, the effulgence be there. The Gayatri Mantram is nothing but a revelation of your true nature. The true nature is Satyam, Param. But we could not do that because we can't do the Gayatri every day because what happens? We fall. Like Ajamilan, we fall. One step we take, 2 steps we fall. So then they say, okay, all this kind of knowledge comes to the surface. Like when you churn this, thing, all the good things comes out, right? When they turn this ocean, Amritam comes out, poison comes out. So the normal peaceful, materially peaceful life that goes there, 5-star stay and a 7-course meal, it doesn't shake you up. It buries you. Suddenly things happen. A small accident comes in. A little disease comes in. Things change. You got a little failure in the job, or you take notice. Now that you can say it as a problem, and therefore you can go to the parikaram and you can do 200 coconuts breaking and resolve. That's fine. But it is giving you something else. It is giving you, hey, wake up. Like pinching it. It's some story I heard, anecdotes. The king was there and he was resting it after the hunting, and he saw a little ant was fallen into the river. So he picked up a leaf and put that leaf and then get it gently come out of it and take it out and let it out. So his soldiers are looking at him and say, King, this is not something you should do. He said, no, it's a life form. Every Jivarasi I should protect. But then he goes to sleep. The story ends there. That's the truth. But to punish us, to give us more understanding, because we are all traders in life, the story goes, and he sleeps, and then when he's sleeping, a snake has come there and he's about to bite on him. But the ant was waiting, and then he bites on his leg, and he takes the leg away, and the snake goes away. See, something has come back. So this story is telling you, therefore, at least you do something to get it return back. But the troubles that comes in life is a blessing. Blessing disguised, Patanjali said it differently. Patanjali said, Dukkam comes as a Shukam. So he basically said every Sukam is a Dukkam. But I am saying the other way. Dukkam, Jnanam comes as a Dukkam. Jnanam comes, because Vairagyam comes as a Dukkam. But that is a very momentary. You have to catch it, because what happens whenever the trouble comes in, we look for shoulders to lean on, look for somebody to really find a way out of this problem. We hardly face the problem. Problem means solution. Immediately Google, find out what to do. But if you analyze the problem, it's going to educate you and it will disappear. All problems are like onions. When you peel it, problem does not exist. So this is what we learn from this verse, because it is giving you, this is the first verse. Therefore, the whole Bhagavatam is nothing but a journey towards Satyam Param Dhimahi. Let me see how much time here. I'll take maybe 5 minutes to finish all the next one. So, the subsequent one, we may recite it as a Mangala Shloka, or we will not dwell deep into this, but you must psych your mind, or not recommend, you must really take in your mind that when you read Bhagavatam someday, or when you listen to Bhagavata Pravachanam someday, when they talk about all the stories and wonderful stuff, all that is giving you holding points to climb this ladder of Satyam Param Dhimahi. The questions will come. The empirical evidence of things will come. The reality that we think is real will come. But let those not erode your Shraddha, because the purpose is not the story. The purpose is to the essence of this. Now, the beauty of Bhagavatam is, so when you start with such a complicated first verse, I only scratched the surface of it. Now, if you go deeper, it is a lot more. But then you go through it and then you expect it going to end in a very complicated way, much more complicated to understand. But the last slokam is a very beautiful one. It says, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Samanastham Namami Harim Param. Namami Harim Param. It says, so if I jump from the first to last, Satyam Param Dhimahi, I need to really meditate upon the Supreme One. Meditation means contemplating on its Surupa Lakshana. See, when I am meditating on Rama, and if I am thinking about Rama's jewelry, Rama's bow, Sita, Ravana's, this will happen. When you do dhyanam, this will come. We saw in the Yoga Shastra study that is called dhyanam. Dhyanam is a fight to bring the mind to focus. So don't get up from the dhyanam because I can never do dhyanam. That is dhyanam. Dhyanam is when your mind is dragging and you're trying to bring it back. But the dhyanam becomes matured into samadhi when your mind has no difference to, the vritti in your mind has no difference to what you are meditating upon. That's why when you are focused on a monkey, the monkey charmer, the guy who takes a monkey out, his face also changes like a monkey. Have you noticed? Subtly, because the thing that you focus on. People even say in a very Dambatyam, the husband and wife, they reflect, the faces also change, reflect themselves. So when you intensely, like a caterpillar, when you intensely meditate upon thing that you want to be, you become that physically, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. That means if I can get Satyam Param Dhimahi, when I'm able to meditate on the Satyam, I'll be that Satyam. Even for a moment, I'll be that. So how do I meditate? And if I go to Vedanta, it gives me half a dozen qualities. When I go to Patanjali Yoga Shastra, it gives me a dozen qualities I need to follow. They are all necessary. You have to do it. But to take you there in a seamless way, like how a pushpam on a river bed, on a river, just goes on with the waves and then reaches the Ganesha on the shore comfortably, without effortlessly. There is a way. It says, Nama Sankirtanam. Yes, on whose Nama Sankirtanam? Sarva Papa Pranashanam. All my sins. Here, don't take the sins as the sins that take you to hell and punya take you to heaven. That's also contained. But we are looking here, the papam that is taking away from the real pursuit of perfection. Like that which made Ajamilan fall. That is the vasanas. That is the avidyas. That is the abhinivesham, panchaklesham. What is the panchaklesham? Remember? Avidya, ahankara, raga, dvesha, abhinivesham. Avidya is not knowing the truth from the untruth, inherent one. And then avidya is sitting on the false identity as ahankara. The moment ahankara comes in, mine, not mine, raga dvesha comes in, like and dislikes. And when we go to this Vedanta session, satsanga, when we learn from the teachers, we know the fallacy of all these things. We understand very well. We can write a thesis on it. We can give lectures about this. Perfect understanding of Vedanta, all these kleshas. But still you will say, I want this body, I want this thing. I want it. So what that means, you want to come back to this again, go through this avidya, ragadvesha. That holding is called abhinivesha. See, suppose somebody who has born as a spider, and I suppose I know that he is born as a spider. Perhaps imagine that for a minute. Then I say, okay, the way to be compassionate to him is to kill him. Disembody him. It means he can go become, that karma is finished, the janma is finished. His punya can come, he can go into, evolve into something. So I think in that way, for example, or the Yamadudas think that way, or the God think that way, to give you punishment and take you away from this world. But what the spider will do, the moment I bring the stick, it run away. Because for the spider, that body is important, abhinivesha. So we are also like this. We are holding on to this body as if it is our best belonging, abhinivesha. This is the worst of the clash. Even Indras are like this. Even the, Dwarapalakas was like this. As long as you have an embodiment, you will have this problem. But that is the problem I'm talking about. So even that will go. Pranashanam. Pranamo dukkha samanashtam. So all these things equalized. On whom? Hari. Param Hari. So the Nama Sankirtanam of Hari, Harinama Sankirtanam, therefore, Harinama Sankirtanam Param Namami, that Hari I pray. So if you take this last concluding verse of this, therefore, the point that we take from Bhagavata Vanyasams and Parayanam is that I just do the Nama Sankirtanam. What's the Nama Sankirtanam? Just sings God's name. So I don't know the meaning, does not matter. I don't know the rituals, it does not matter. But what happens then, when I give the Nama Sankirtanam, my bliss starts showing up in my heart. My Chitta Vritti starts stopping. My Rajogunam, Tamogunams are going down. What happened? Sat Prakasham comes. When Sat Prakasham comes in, I am ready for Dhyanam. And when I do the Nama Sankirtanam, the mind is calm. And I go and sit there and say, Satyam Param Dhimahi. I am there, I got it. You still have to go through this. Jnanam is very important. Jnanam eva kaivalyam. That truth cannot be achieved without the jnanam. But we qualify to attain the jnanam is all these hard ways in life. But Nama Sankirtanam is the easiest way in life. That's why even Kali Kalam, we say Kali Kalam is a very dangerous place, and Kali is bad Purusha. Kali Purusha is bad and all that. No, Kali is the most compassionate one, because in the Kali, he is not expecting you to do this Vedadhyanam, Yagyam, all this. See, just say Ramanama, Krishna Nama, Shiva Nama, salvation comes through. That's the reason why Kali Purusha is, on one end, is most cruel to create problems, which you're going to see when you read this Padma Puranam. But very simply, simple methods will give us elevation to this. So I took some time more today, but I just want to stop in a logical place. We'll stop here. Om Asudoma Sadgamaya. Namasoma Jyotirgamaya. Kyoma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raja sir.
Raja.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.